What you're about to hear are 3 true stories from people who experienced school lockdowns that turned into something far more terrifying than any drill. These aren't your typical false alarm stories. These are the ones that people still have nightmares about years later. Let's get into it. My name is Jennifer, and what happened to me during my junior year of high school still makes me check every lock in my house twice before going to bed. It was a normal Tuesday in October 2019. I remember because we just finished midterms, and everyone was in that weird, exhausted state where you're half awake in every class. I was sitting in AP Biology, 3rd period, right by the windows that overlooked the student parking lot. That's when we heard it. The intercom crackled to life, but instead of our principal's usual calm voice, there was something else. Heavy breathing. Then, barely above a whisper, "Lock your doors." The line went dead. Mrs. Chun, our teacher, went completely pale. In all my years at that school, I'd never seen a teacher look genuinely terrified before. She ran to the door, hands shaking so badly she could barely turn the lock. She killed the lights, and we all knew this wasn't a drill. We huddled against the wall furthest from the door and windows, just like they'd taught us. 23 of us, packed together in the dark. Someone was crying. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. 5 minutes passed, then 10. That's when I heard the footsteps. Not running, walking. Slow, deliberate footsteps in the hallway outside our classroom. They'd stop at each door, and I could hear the handle being tested. Jiggle, jiggle. Then those footsteps would move on to the next room. The footsteps got closer, closer. Then they stopped right outside our door. The handle started to turn, back and forth, back and forth. Whoever was out there was really trying to get in. Mrs. Chun had her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. The girl next to me grabbed my arm, so hard I still had bruises days later. Then I heard something that made my blood run cold. A voice, right outside our door. Male, maybe in his 40s. "I know you're in there. I can hear you breathing. I just want to talk about what you did to my daughter." Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. What daughter? What was he talking about? The handle rattled harder. Then there was a bang as something hit the door. Then another. He was trying to break it down. "You took her from me," he screamed, slamming against the door over and over. "One of you did it." "Which one?" That's when Sarah, a quiet girl who sat in the back, started sobbing uncontrollably. Oh my God, it's Emily's dad. Emily transferred because..." Mrs. Chin covered her mouth, but it was too late. The banging stopped. The silence was somehow worse than the noise. We waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3. Then we heard police sirens, shouting, radio chatter. Eventually, they came to let us out. The man was in custody, they said. Nobody was hurt. But as we filed out into the hallway, I saw something that still haunts me. There were scratches on our door, deep gouges in the wood, like he'd been clawing at it with his bare hands. But that's not what froze me in place. On the door, written in what I hope was red marker, were 3 words. "This isn't over." We later found out Emily's dad had been arrested 6 months earlier for breaking into the homes of students he believed had bullied his daughter into attempting suicide. He'd escaped from a psychiatric facility that morning. But here's the part that keeps me up at night. Sarah, the girl who called out Emily's name, she transferred schools 2 weeks later. Before she left, she told me something I wish I could unhear. She said Emily's dad was at the wrong school. Emily had gone to our rival school across town, which means he wasn't there for Emily's bullies. So why did he try so hard to get into our classroom specifically? Mrs. Chen's room. Mrs. Chen, who'd taught at our rival school the year before. Mrs. Chen, who'd been investigated for allegedly ignoring bullying reports. We never got answers. But 2 months later, Mrs. Chen stopped showing up to work. Her house was empty. No forwarding address. It's like she just vanished. And sometimes, late at night, I wonder if Emily's dad ever found what he was looking for. My name is Kayla, and I need to tell you about the day I realized that the scariest monsters aren't the ones breaking in from the outside. Spring 2021. I was in 8th grade, and honestly, I was so desensitized to lockdown drills that I barely reacted anymore. We'd done so many that year, probably one every month, that when the alarm went off during lunch period, most of us just rolled our eyes. Another drill. Great. There goes lunch. Our cafeteria had a protocol. All the students would file into the kitchen's walk-in freezer area and the storage rooms. It was tight, cramped, and smelled like old food, but it was the most secure place in the building. Steel doors, no windows, solid walls. That day, about 60 of us packed into those spaces. The lunch ladies ushered us in, faces serious, but not panicked. Just another drill, right? But something fell off. Ms. Rodriguez, the head lunch lady, kept checking her phone. Her hand was shaking. When she caught me looking, she quickly put away, but I saw her screen for just a second. A text message. He's inside. Keep them quiet. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a drill. I wanted to scream, to tell everyone, but Ms. Rodriguez looked right at me and shook her head slightly. Her eyes were pleading. Don't panic them. Not yet. So I stood there, in that freezing storage room, watching my friends joke around and complain about missing lunch, while I knew something terrible was happening in our school. 20 minutes passed, then 40. People started getting restless. Cold. Some of the younger kids were crying. My best friend, Madison, kept asking me what was wrong. I couldn't tell her. I couldn't. Then we heard it. Footsteps in the cafeteria. Not running. Walking. Searching. Everyone went silent. The joking stopped. Even the kids who'd been messing around suddenly understood. This was real. The footsteps got closer to the kitchen. We could hear cabinets being opened. Pots being moved. Someone was looking for us. Then a voice. Young. Male. Maybe 17 or 18. Come out, wherever you are. I know you're hiding somewhere. I can wait. I've got all day. Madison grabbed my hand. Her palm was sweaty, or maybe that was mine. We stood there, barely breathing, as this person moved through the kitchen, just feet away from where we were hiding. That's when Tyler, a kid from our math class, whispered something that made my blood freeze. Guys, that's Connor's voice. That's Connor Martinez. Connor Martinez, senior, quiet kid, sat in the back of every class. Never caused trouble. I'd partnered with him for a project last year. He was normal. Connor, Ms. Rodriguez called out through the door. Connor, honey, what's going on? Silence. Then, they laughed at me, Ms. R. Every single day. In that cafeteria. At those tables. They laughed. His voice broke. He was crying. I just wanted them to know what it felt like to be scared. Just for once. We heard more footsteps then. Running. Police radios. Shouting. Drop it. Drop it now. A scuffle. Crashes. Then silence. They let us out 15 minutes later. Connor was already gone. Taken away in handcuffs. Nobody was hurt, they told us. He'd had a weapon, but he never used it. He never even tried to find us. Not really. He just wanted to scare us. To make us feel what he'd felt. The school tried to move on. Counselors everywhere. Assemblies about kindness. But here's what messed me up. 2 weeks later, I was cleaning out my locker and found something I'd forgotten about. A group photo from last year's spring formal. I was looking at it, smiling at the memory, when I noticed something in the background. Connor was there, in the corner, alone, and he was looking directly at the camera, at me, and on his face was this expression I'd never noticed before. Not anger, not sadness, planning. That photo was taken 7 months before the lockdown. 7 months of him standing there, watching, planning. And you want to know the worst part? In that photo, right next to where he's standing, there's a trash can. And if you look really close, you can see he's holding something. A notebook. The police found it in his locker after the arrest. It was filled with names, dates, schedules. My name was on page 1. My name is Devin, and what I'm about to tell you is the reason I'll never trust a teacher the same way again. December 2020. Virtual learning had just ended, and we were back in the building for the first time in months. Everyone was excited and nervous, wearing masks and trying to navigate this weird new normal. I was a sophomore, and honestly, I was just happy to be out of my house. Mr. Reeves was my English teacher. Mid-30s, friendly. Always tried too hard to relate to us with outdated memes and references. But he was nice. Safe. Or so we thought. It was 7th period, last class of the day, when the lockdown was announced. But this time it was different. The principal's voice came over the intercom, clear and direct. This is not a drill. We have received a credible threat. All staff and students are to shelter in place immediately. Do not open your doors for anyone unless you can verify their identity through the door window. I repeat, do not open for anyone. Mr. Reeves moved fast. Lights off. Door locked. Blinds down. We all crammed into the corner like we'd practiced. There were 18 of us in that classroom, but something was wrong with Mr. Reeves. He wasn't scared. He was agitated. Kept checking his phone. Pacing. Muttering under his breath. Mr. Reeves? Ashley, a girl in the front row, asked, "Are you okay?" "Fine," he snapped. Then softer. "Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Just everyone stay quiet. Please." 10 minutes passed. 15. We could hear sirens outside. Lots of them. Something big was happening. That's when Mr. Reeves's phone rang. He looked at the screen, and his face went completely white. He stepped into his supply closet to take the call, but the room was dead silent. We could hear everything. "I told you not to call me here." "No, you need to leave now." "I don't care about that anymore. Because there are kids here, that's why. If you come to the school, I swear to God." He hung up. When he came out of the closet, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Mr. Reeves?" I asked. "What's going on?" He looked at us, really looked at us, and I saw something I'll never forget. Genuine terror. "Listen to me very carefully," he said, voice shaking. "No matter what happens, no matter what you hear, do not open that door. Do you understand?" We nodded, confused, scared. 3 minutes later, someone knocked on our door. "Steve. Steve, I know you're in there." A woman's voice. Calm. Almost cheerful. "We need to talk, baby. Face to face." Mr. Reeves, Steve, backed away from the door like it was on fire. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. She actually came. "Go away, Nicole," he called out, trying to sound firm, but his voice cracked. "The police are coming. You need to leave." "The police." She laughed. It was the coldest sound I'd ever heard. "Steve, honey, I am the police. Or I was. You should remember. It's how we met." Pause. "Open the door, Steve. We need to discuss our options. You owe me that much after you ruined my life." One of my classmates pulled up the school website on their phone, started looking through staff directories. Then they showed me something that made my heart stop. Mr. Reeves had started teaching at our school exactly 4 months ago, September 2020. Before that, he taught in a town 3 hours away. I Googled that school's name. First result: former police officer arrested in stalking case, claims relationship with high school teacher. The article was from August 2020. A female police officer had been arrested for stalking, harassment, and threatening a teacher named Stephen Reeves. She'd been fired, pending trial. Restraining order issued. Her name was Nicole Brennan. "Steve," Nicole said through the door, voice getting harder. "I lost everything because of you. My job, My reputation. My life. You don't get to hide from this. You don't get to hide from me. Bang. Something hit the door. You told them I was crazy. Bang. You made them think I was obsessed. Bang. All I wanted was for you to love me back. We were all pressed against the back wall, as far from the door as possible. Mr. Reeves had his phone out, frantically texting someone. Then we heard the most beautiful sound in the world. Police, put your hands up. Shouting, a struggle, then silence. They let us out 10 minutes later. Nicole was already gone. Arrested again, we later learned. This time with new charges. Trespassing, making terroristic threats, violating a restraining order. Mr. Reeves tried to apologize, tried to explain. The school board put him on leave. Last I heard, he moved to a different state, changed his name. But here's what keeps me up at night. What nobody talks about. When the police searched Nicole's car, they found a list. Addresses of Mr. Reeves's colleagues, his friends, his favorite coffee shop, his gym, and a floor plan of our school, with his classroom circled, and a note, if I can't have you, I'll make sure you never forget me. Room 214, December 15th, 2:30 p.m. December 15th. That was the day of the lockdown. But here's the thing nobody's been able to explain. The threat that triggered the lockdown, it came from an anonymous phone call at 1:45 p.m. 45 minutes before Nicole's note said she'd strike. Someone called in that threat. Someone who knew she was coming. We never found out who made that call. And sometimes, late at night, I wonder, did Mr. Reeves know she was coming? Did he let us all sit in that classroom, potential hostages, because he thought he could handle her himself? Or worse, was he hoping she'd do something that would get her locked away forever? We were never in danger from a school shooter that day. We were bait. These three stories remind us that sometimes the scariest lockdowns aren't about strangers with bad intentions. Sometimes they're about the people we think we know, the ones we trust, the ones who walk our halls every single day. If you have your own disturbing school lockdown story, I'd love to hear it. Leave it in the comments below. And remember, stay safe out there, because you never really know what's on the other side of that locked door.